Good Saturday afternoon. Welcome to, or morning. Welcome to the Land Tamer stream. Good to have you. I will explain this background here in a moment. First, we're going to talk about some GNS3, viral images, and studying for the written, because that's what's on the agenda for this weekend. Let me pull up the agenda, by the way, for this vlog on, what is today's date? April the 7th, 2018. Yeah, we've got 64 days to go, excuse me. And here is I'm going to pull up also the Twitch chat window in case anybody wants to say hello, have any questions, complaints, concerns, etc. But yeah, let's talk about GNS3. So as many may know, I've been on this journey of looking for, I think I have 8 days to go before my VIRL subscription expires. $200 a year. This would be either my third or fourth, I can't remember, year renewing the subscription, and I'm reconsidering. So in order to do that, I have to ensure that I have an environment that is just as reliable, just as efficient and easy to use, if not more so, and of course using the viral images. That is the main reason I first got viral, and why I encourage anyone else to do so, at least for your first year of labbing, because you can get those images, right? It is a legitimate, legal way to obtain images for your use, both routing and switching. So that's where I'm at. I've done EVNG. I've got that environment up and running, and I was thinking, I really need to consider, if I'm going to compare the three, viral, GNS3, and EVNG, I need to get GNS3 working as well with the viral images. And I got it working. It took several hours to get it working due to some of always, what it usually is the case, the networking piece, right? Because in my scenario, and I'm going to pull up and show you here, I did a little drawing. Somewhere, there it is. Okay, so the way I've got this configured, and this is really similar to the way I have done EVNG as well. You could basically substitute EVNG virtual machine for GNS3 virtual machine. I had to download the latest version. Yesterday I started on that, downloaded 2. What version is this? This is the latest, 2.1.4, right? So I downloaded that. And then this morning, and I installed the virtual machine. It took a little bit for me to figure out how to get, the local client to run on my iMac. So here's the iMac. Let me back up a little bit. Here's the iMac with a static IP, VMware Fusion Pro. This is a slightly older version, but it works just fine. And then I've got GNS3 virtual machine, and that is actually not the correct IP. But anyway, it took me a little bit to figure out how to get the client to run and not try to use a local server, to use just the GNS3 virtual machine. Not that I really need the client here, although I will use it from time to time, and it is working. But the main thing was getting this GNS3 VM working, and I have it working. What took me several hours this morning is to figure out how to do this networking, so that I can access this GNS3 VM from a Windows 7 client on the same network. Not that it has to be. And the reason that took a while is because I was so hesitant to change the network adapters here. And I could not find any good documentation saying, this is how you do it. There's a considerable amount of documentation videos if you're running the GNS3 VM on ESXi, and how to change the networking for that. But in the past, whenever I've changed things on viral here, I've had a world of problems. So I was very hesitant to do this. But finally, I just said, I'm going to make this like I had EVNG. I'm going to change all 3 network adapters to be bridged. And lo and behold, it's working, with the caveat that I had to also update the GNS3 VM to use a static IP. I used it at DHCP at first, just thought, well, they're saying, you can change that might cause problems. So I was hesitant to do that as well, and again, did not find a very clear, well-worded document or video on how to build this design right here that you see in the diagram. There's no succinct, and that's one thing I'll fault GNS3 with compared to EVN-G, is there's no succinct document on how to do this, which I think a lot of people will want to do. Why that is, I'm not sure. Maybe I should do documentation on that, but I don't have time right now, to be honest. I spent way too much time vetting just this solution, which took, I'm not real happy about, 3 hours to get all this working, and that is being very cautious. Granted, I could have done this like within an hour of the install. I could have just said, forget this. We're going to do bridge networking, all adapters, static IPs everywhere. But again, I was trying to follow the recommended course of action, the recommended configuration. I watched some of David Bombal's videos, which are good. But it would have been great if someone had a step-by-step, and there are a lot of step-by-steps in the documentation. If you're going to do this, click here. If you're going to do this, click here. Be careful you're going to do this, etc. This is what I wanted, and there's no click-through documentation for doing this. The initial setup, for example, had the network adapter as, I think, host only, and network adapter 2 as NATed, which is great if you're just going to run all this locally. Works great. In fact, you can connect your topology to the physical network by using this gns3 cloud object, and all that works great until you try to connect remotely. Because what happens if you use a default configuration for the gns3 VM, this is using a NAT address like 172.16, etc. You cannot reach that from this Windows machine, at least not in an easy way that I know of. In fact, that network adapter 2 is set as private, right? So yeah, basically, if you just make this all bridged and use static IP addresses, you're great. I did try this where I made all these bridged, and then I tried to connect remotely and use DHCP, as I was saying, but this address kept changing, like the card was resetting constantly. And then what happens if you're in here, this is the remote machine, right? This is my Windows machine. If this changes while you're running GNS3, and this IP address changes, for example, when the GNS3 VM is set by default to be DHCP, this client goes nuts. Like, it just cannot connect. Pops up, and you have to click X over and over just about 10 times before you can get back to this screen and change it to the static IP address. So yeah, it is working. It is cool. It works pretty well right now. But like the problem is with a lot of these software applications, using it in a particular environment that you want to use can sometimes be a challenge. All right. Now again, this is me coming off of trying to work with 3 different kinds of software solutions for this. That is running VIRL images in a lab environment that I can access remotely. Okay. So again, I've been kind of bouncing around and not strictly reading through all the documentation, just kind of Googling things as I go. But hey, it works. We've got it working. And I'm going to include all my comparisons of this in a future vlog update. When I have time, I'm going to compare GNS3, VIRL, and EVN-G, my experience with all 3, and my decision as to which one am I going to use going forward for my next year or so or 2 of labbing for the CCIE. All right. So I hope that helps. I will post this in the Google Drive share, which I will also link if you're watching this on YouTube. It'll all be linked here below. And I hope that helps out, folks. And I hope you're able to find this useful at some point. But that's where I am. We've got GNS3 working. I'll do a little demo here. So, you know, the VIRL images are loaded. Cisco ISV 1562T, and I've got the Cisco ISV L2 15.2. So I'm happy about that. We've got a cloud connection here, and notice on this cloud, let me see if I can do configure. Yeah, I've got a link to Ethernet 2, which corresponds. Where did my drawing go? This is a great David Bombal video. gns3 has a lot of good videos. But basically it's saying if you want to connect your topology to a physical environment, you use this cloud object and you connect it to this adapter. So network adapter 3 would correspond to ETH2 in your cloud configuration. And it works. So we've got this router. I'll show you. I'll configure this interface here. How do I view interface gns3? I know this is a little quirky in gns3 sometimes. In all of them it is, to be honest. This labeling scheme and how it works. But I believe that's GI00. The way these popped in here, sometimes you're not 100% sure, but let's just go ahead and connect in here, and I'll show you that I got this working right. So here it is, show VIR. And as we can see, we've got Cisco IOSV version 1562T. Yes, FC2. So that is working great. Let's configure the interface, right? So I'm going to connect this interface through the cloud to this physical network here, where the router is 0.1, and off of the iMac, of course, that's going to be this network adapter 3 on the VMware Fusion Pro connected to the iMac, which is also a 192.168.0 network /24. And we're going to configure this router interface, right? And I think I have linked, let me double check. Total credit for this configuration, there's a number of places, but I have a David Bombal video linked here on importing VIRL images to gns3. I'm going to also go back, no, don't worry folks, I'm going to go back and link the video to connecting to the physical network, all right? But show IP, and this is GI00. So what we're going to do is just do IP address DHCP and no shut. We'll also do IP domain lookup. And show IP. Took it a minute, but there we go. We got so our router has assigned a DHCP address to this. Our home router has assigned a DHCP address to this IOSV router. So now we're on 0.25, and we should be able to ping google.com now. Yay, look at that. So that's really cool. I was able to do this again in gns3. Now it took me, in EVE-NG. And configuring this in EVE-NG took, I would say, a third of the time to do. Now that's not to say that this gns3 solution is worse than EVE-NG, because again, my criteria is along several. I have several criteria for evaluating these that I'm going to share at some point, and share my thoughts and my evaluation and comparisons in an upcoming vlog, right? But yeah, we got this working, and you know, this is actually a laptop, so I'll be able to do this from anywhere in the house, right? Anywhere in wireless range, and we are good to go here. All right, so that's that concludes my brief little demo here. What we got going on is Hero Series. So that is the background I was talking about. Martin Luther King Jr. Last week was, I think last Thursday, was the commemoration of his 50 years ago he was assassinated. So it's kind of a commemoration of his leadership. And I haven't shared a lot of this on this stream, but yeah, I have several heroes who I read about. I've read a lot. I love to read. One and I've read a lot of autobiographies. And of those, there are a handful of leaders who kind of stand out to me. And I've recently started reading what's an audiobook. So when I'm doing chores and things, I will listen to this audiobook, and it's about, it's referenced here in this meat chunk, Death of a King, the real story of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s final years. Something I didn't realize, that how many enemies he actually had prior to his assassination, but great leader. And there were some great commemoration things going on last week. And again, I've been kind of listening to this book, so I'm just now kind of bringing it up. But he is one of my heroes among several that I'll talk about in the future when there are certain events associated with him, and also share books that I've read about those leaders that I consider really, really good reads. Anyway, kind of off topic, I realized this is also one of his great speeches, which I had not listened to until this morning, actually. I getting breakfast ready, and I pulled up a couple of speeches on YouTube, and this is one I not heard in its entirety, and it's very moving, very great speech. But check it out if you like to. David Bombal's video. I'm going to share another meat chunk on that, again, about connecting gns3 topology to the physical network. That'll be upcoming in case you're doing that or have done that. And what else? I think that's it. I've got 64 days to go, like I mentioned. And the rest of this weekend, I'm going to be jamming on this written topic checklist. So where I'm at now, I'm just going line by line now, folks. I've watched a lot of videos, and now I'm on, read some of this topic, OSPF. But we'll be reading about OSPF v3 and some BGP topics that I've marked C on, that I'm weak. And again, if you're interested in studying topic by topic, feel free to grab this checklist. If you want to use it as well, you can copy it, do whatever you want. It is linked below in the drive share. Thanks, folks. I hope you have a great and productive weekend of labbing and or studying. Hope you get all the good bits in your labs and your learning. And feel free to hit us up on Twitter and in Discord if you want to chat, present a lab problem. We'll probably have a meetup next week. So, possibly on Tuesday. If you're interested in joining that too, hit us up on Twitter. Thanks for stopping in and watching the video. Please like and subscribe on YouTube if you're not already. And we shall see you back here soon in the Land Tamer stream. Take care, folks.